Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to look at how to secure network traffic. Now, this video is part of a series of videos that we are doing for the AZ900 exam, which is an entry-level certification to get you started with Microsoft Azure infrastructure. If you go over there, there's a whole 23 different labs that are designed to help you pass the certification, and all those labs are available from Microsoft Learning, and I'll give you the link to this particular lab. We have already completed the previous 12 labs, and here are the links, and I'll provide this link of this page as well in the video. In this lab today, we're going to do the 13, which is secure network traffic. So if you look at it, there are a couple things that we need to do. We'll start first. We're going to create a virtual machine, and that should be pretty simple at this point for everyone. And we will create a network security group, and then we're going to configure inbound security port rule to allow the RDP connection. And finally, we're going to configure an outbound security port rule to deny internet access. Just note that by default, when you install a virtual machine, uh, all the machines, they can talk to the internet. There's the outbound rule is open. If you need to make it more secure, you need to create a rule to block the outbound internet connection. So it should be a nice lab for you to understand how to do that. So to follow the lab with me, you will need Azure active subscription. If you don't have one, just please go to the portal.azure.com and get a free account for yourself. So what we'll do, we'll start with the virtual machine. I'll copy that resource type, go to my Azure environment, and in the search box I'm gonna paste for virtual machine, and it showed up. So I'll click on that one, and here I'm gonna click the add button, and that is asking me virtual machine or start with a preset configuration. I'm just gonna go with the virtual machine, and it should give me a window to configure the way I want this virtual machine to configure, and I'm going to follow the lab guidance here. For the resource group, we're going to create a new resource group. So create new and paste the name of the resource group. I've already chosen the subscription that I have access to. Next is the virtual machine name. Simple Windows VM is what the lab suggested, so we're going to use that one. Let's see, it's saying the suggested region is East US, so we'll try to stick to that one and see if we can. Yeah, for availability zone, I don't think we are worried about it at the moment. So let's go to the image. We want the Windows Server 2019 data center. So instead of Ubuntu, I'm going to click on it, and there we go, Windows Server 2019 data center. And they are suggesting to use the SKU for D2SV3. So come back over here, and here D2SV3 is right there. I'm going to select that one, and for username password, I'm just gonna use something secure. Okay, so everything looks good. You have green tick marks everywhere. Over here, I think we probably they're gonna suggest none for the security. Yeah, so inbound port rule is so the way that we are suggesting at the beginning, we are blocking all kinds of ports to the window. That means from outside you will not be able to access. Okay, for the disk, let's see, that's all we need for here. Disk, I think that's all default is good, so we'll just go to the networking, and also we are not gonna keep any ports open there. So let's come back over here. Disk, premium SSD is fine, whatever default is good, you don't need to change anything. On the networking again, for the network security group, usually by default it creates the network security group for you for your NIC, but we don't want it, we just say no. So there is no NIC at all. Anything else? Boot diagnostic is something typically we disable. That is comes under the management. Here it's by default is enabled with manage stored account, so just disable that one for now. And next, go to advanced tab. There is nothing to install. Tags, I recommend it to use in every production environment since this is a lab. You don't need that. Just hit the review and create. It should take you to this summary page where it should tell you the validation is successful. Review this information real quick. This is how much you'll be paying, almost 20 cents an hour for this particular virtual machine. Here's the resource group that will be created. That's the name of the virtual machine. It will be deployed in the East US. We are not concerned about the availability at this moment. We are going to use Windows Server 2019 with standard D2S V3 with 2 virtual cores and 8 gigs of memory. Here is my username. And for networking, this is a virtual network that will get created. 10.0.10/24 is going to be my subnet ID. The name of this public IP would be simple WinVM IP. We are not creating any network NIC NSGs, and that's about it. So just hit create and it should start the deployment of this particular virtual machine. So let's go back to the lab, and yeah, so we have done that. We just started the create. It says it can take up to 5 minutes, but trust me that it will, within 2 minutes you will have a virtual machine. It's become so quick that it's just amazing how quickly you can deploy a virtual machine and have it ready. So just monitor the deployment and see what it's doing. And once it's done, we'll go to the resources, and we will look at the inbound port rule when the machine is deployed. So let's just come over here, and the deployment progress, you can see it on this page. You can see it from here on the notification bar. It should tell you what is going on, and look at that, your deployment is now done. So at this point you can click on the go to resource. It should take you to the virtual machine itself. Okay. uh, and how do you know that it's a virtual machine? And if this thing happens, you can keep click on that bar, and you can move it to get it back to fit your window again. Anyway, so how do you know it's a virtual machine? There is the icon that's unique for all virtual machines, and it's also telling this instance is a type of virtual machine. Okay, here's your IP address, and what they're saying, go to networking and take a look at the inbound security rule. And it says the network interface does not contain network security group at all, right? So there is no outbound, no inbound, no application security group, nothing is configured. You can go to the network security, the network interface card as well, just to take a look at it, how it's configured. So let's go back to the lab. Identify the name of the network interface. You will need it in the next task. So that is the name of the network interface. So just copy this one, and I'm just going to put it in here if we need it, so we have a copy. Okay, there we go. Right, so we have copied that one. So let's come back over here, and next what we will do, we will create a network security group. Network security group is very important, how you control traffic and access to your virtual machines within Azure. Okay, you will spend a lot of time and expect a lot of questions around network security groups, especially how you open ports, how you allow outbound connection, inbound connection, if you should be applying network security group at a network interface card level or at a subnet level. So you have to be pretty good and have a good understanding of how it works. Okay, so let's just create a network security group first. Let's get this resource, and everything is a resource in Azure. So come back over here, uh, look for network security groups. Now is another thing that I would suggest, if you anywhere if you see that's appended with like a classic model, do not use that one. That is the old version of a particular feature. Always go with the newer, which does not have any classic attached to it. So I'm going to click on that one, and then click on add. That should again give me a window to configure this network security group. Seems like very little I need to configure, just resource group and the name. So let's come back over here. This is the resource group that we have already created most likely. So I'm going to select the same resource group where we have deployed the virtual machine, and let's see, the name is my NSG secure. So that's a name that we are going to use. East US is good. Then we are going to create this network security group. Okay. One thing that you have to remember, that just creation of the network security group is not enough. You have to associate the network security group with the network interface card or the subnet. So let's see what the lab is suggesting. Once this resource is created, they are asking you to go to the network interface card and then associate. Okay, so they're saying apply this network security group to the NIC level of the virtual machine. So let's come back over here, see how quickly it got created. So go to the resource, and again, how do you know this is a network security group? This icon is unique for network security groups. Okay, so over here, we'll come back over here, and you see you have the network interfaces and subnets there on the left hand side. You can associate this NSG to either a network interface or subnet, but we're going to work on the network interfaces. So I clicked on that one, then click on associate, and this is the network interface that I want to associate the NSG. So I'm going to select that one, and it says saving network interface for simple WinVM 573. So that should happen momentarily. So let's go back to the lab. And third would be configure an inbound security port rule to allow the RDP. So now you have a network security group. Okay, but let's go back to the virtual machine. Okay, so virtual machine, if we click on that one and click on my simple VM that we just created. Okay, so here networking, go to networking and look for the inbound port. So you see that we do not have the RDP port available as open, so no one can connect to this virtual machine. Okay, so what is allowed is VNet to VNet. So if you're already in Azure, you can allow, or if you have a load balancer within Azure that can access the virtual machine, every other inbound is denied. So the other way to prove the NIC public IP is the IP address of your machine, right? So you copy that one. Okay, copy this, and what you can do, you can actually go over here, go to the virtual machine, go back to your overview tab, and click on connect and download the RDP file. Okay, 3389 is not available at the moment, right? So I just downloaded. If we try to connect, I should not be able to connect. Let's see if it gives me, yeah. So now it's trying to connect to 3389 to the public IP address. Okay, and you would see that it's not going to go anywhere because port 3389 is not open at the moment. So unable to connect, right? Because I don't have it. So how do you make sure that you have the port open? So that is what we're going to do momentarily. So here, to configure an inbound security rule, so what you need to do, you need to go back to the virtual machine blade, uh, and as we tested that the connection is not successful, we're going to go to the networking tab again. Okay, and then we have already done that one. So we are going to add our network inbound port rule and say add. So let's go back over here, go back to networking. For inbound security rule, we are in that blade because I have the blue bar at the bottom. So if I go here, the blue bar changes over here. So that's why I know that I'm on the outbound port rule now. But I want to be in the inbound port rules. And then over here, it says add inbound rule. I'm going to click on it. So source from any source. Source port could be any source. Destination could be any, but destination port is 3389. You can even specify the public IP or private IP address of the machine over here. Let's see what the lab is suggesting. Lab is suggesting value any ports, any, and destination port 3389. That RDP connection uses TCP protocol, and we're going to allow that one we're gonna use a priority of 300. All right, let's come back over here. So TCP protocol allow and priority 300. And what I would suggest that read up some do some research on priority. If you look, rules are processed in priority order. In the lower the number, the higher the priority. So if I make priority 100, that will be a higher level priority, and if I block our traffic at that level, it will not even go to the next rule. Okay, whatever comes first is the most important one. So keep that in mind. And then let's see if there's anything else we need to change. Name. So the name, you should always give a nice name to identify the rule that you're creating. So over here, name it as LRDB and then add. And what you should see, creating the rule, this new rule should show up here momentarily, and you will have a connection now where you have opened up the port. It says created the security rule, so it's not there yet. So what I'll do, I'll just maybe refresh. Yeah, there will, it showed up now. It's priority 300 and name allow RDP, port is 3389, TCP protocol from any source, any destination port. uh, that port is now is allowed. So if I try to do this action one more time, okay, and let's try to do this one more time. There we go. Now you see that I have this enter your user account. So now I have my connection open. So let's just provide the username and then password and see if I'm able to connect. And yeah, it's asking about the certificate. Just trust the certificate and it should give me our virtual machine momentarily. Okay, so now I have connection. So now inside this virtual machine by default, uh, I should be able to connect to the internet. So let us just log in and verify if that's a true statement or not. So let's just log, just give it a second uh, to load up. Your server manager is gonna load up in a second, and once it's load up, um, I'm just gonna try to open up a command window here to do some ping. Here for the network, whatever you like, I usually just say yeah, go ahead and be discoverable over the for the in my network. CMD, and it should bring up. Man, it's a little slow now. It's starting up. So here, while everything else is loading, if I ping google.com and see that I'm getting responses back. So I have connection to the internet from this machine, and that means if I go over here and try to go to the internet, I should be able to go to internet as well. Just see from here, just gonna see if google.com, if I can directly go. Use recommended. Yeah, recommended is fine. If I can type right, and it's trying to go to google.com, and there we go. So I have internet connection. So that's but truly, in many environment, you do not want the internet connection to be available. And the next thing that we're going to do here, we have proved that we can go to the internet. So here, that's what we did. Like we opened up Internet Explorer. They're going to Bing that we want to Google. Now what we'll do, we'll go to the outbound port rule and notice that there is a rule called allow internet outbound. So let's just go back to our simple VM, go to outbound and allow internet outbound. That means any port, any protocol can be able to access the internet. So we want to block that one. But how do you do that? These three rules, they are created by default. So we haven't done anything. So we have to create a rule that is higher in priority and that blocks the internet traffic. Okay, to do that, what we would do, we would add another outbound port rule. Okay, so over here we're gonna create add outbound port rule, and for this time source, any source port run, destination any, but this is, we can, I think we can probably type internet. Can we? let's see, destination service tag internet is something we can use. Okay, so this could be any in this time. Okay, so let's see how the lab is suggesting. So there's many way to configure that one. This is my preferred way to do it. Destination used with service tag, anything you're going to the internet, any port, I don't care, you block it. Okay, TCP, UDP, ICMP, just block everything. Let's look at the lab. Here they're saying source any source port run star. So I think we are good on that one. Source any source port run star, we agree. Service tag they're also using internet and destination port, so they are agreeing with what I have just configured, and but they're saying protocol just stick to TCP and then deny. So here I would go with any probably, but they're just saying hey, just do it TCP and deny. That is the most important thing that you have to do. You are denying, you are not allowing outbound connection, but you are denying the outbound connection, and the priority has to be higher than this number. So it doesn't have to be 100. Let's see what number they're suggesting. They're suggesting 4,000. So as I said, as long as they're lower than the default, we should be good. And you can hear a good name, deny internet would work. So we'll add, we'll set deny internet right here. Okay, and then we can add the rule, and that should add the rule, and it should show up over here momentarily. And once this is done, we'll go back to the RDP session. We'll try to connect to Google again and see what happens. And if we have done it properly, we will not be able to access the internet anymore. So let's come back over here. The rule is now added, and see it says deny internet, the rule that we created. It says internet access is denied. Here internet access is allowed, and here is denied. Since we are blocking it at a higher level, this rule will never be evaluated, and that's how you add new rules to modify the default rules that you get from Azure. Okay, so now let's go back to our virtual environment. There we go. Go back to Google, and let's try to go to Google one more time. And now let's see, it just says waiting for google.com. So what is happening, you don't have internet connection anymore, so it will just look for Google whole bunch of times and you will not be able to connect the server. And the other way to test it again, we did a ping to Google, we got the packets back, and now if you try to ping the Google, it looks like you're still getting some response back here, but the rule, it takes a little bit of time to so we actually block the TCP connection and not the ICMP. So I guess you can still probably do this, but you will not have a TCP connection to Google. So this is the interesting thing. So although you are pinging, you may think, hey, I can connect to the internet, but that's not true. If you remember, we have configured in this rule what we said only block the TCP protocol. Ping uses the protocol ICMP, which is still allowed, so you can still ping the Google, but you do not have access to the website. Okay, let's go back in our clear one more time, over here, and just prove that you do not have access to Google, can't reach this page. All right, so that's all we wanted to do in this lab. So I hope you have a good understanding of the lab and what we have done. Once you're done with the lab, if you're not using this resource, go ahead and delete the resource group and you should be good to go. If you're studying for the AZ 900, hope this lab was useful to you. If you like the lab, give me a like, subscribe for more videos, and if you have any comments, please leave comments for me so I can make better videos for you. If you're studying for the exam again, good luck and thanks for watching.